She's not unusual. She's just a person. And here comes this guy, and he becomes unhinged and manipulative and dangerous. And so the roles are switched in a really nice way. We're in different places in our lives. There are tons of women in the city. Go find them.
This is a pleasure because I really enjoy the film. Even so, it's a slow burn. So you have to, when you have great characters like you guys have, and you get involved into the movie. And for me, it's the switching, like right in the end of the movie of your character, because from being controller, then you become a victim. Then Elliot became the kind of mean guy. At first, we see an innocent guy. So how was that shifting created? It wasn't the script. It was something that you talk as a main characters, or it was something that was development in the filming.
Well, I'll start.
You-
It was, I mean, it was always in the script that that this, there's this power shift, this where, you know, one person is clear, it seems clearly in control, and then loses control and regains, and that, I mean, that was always a very interesting aspect to the story and the characters to me. I mean, also, we're so used to seeing, in cinema, especially American cinema, we're always used to seeing like the young, 20 something actress with the 40, 50, 60-year-old guy. And that's not, our age gap is nowhere close to that. But I just thought there was something really cool and interesting about having, a male character who at first might seem, really submissive, and seeing a dominant female character. I mean, I have these women in my life, and I just wanted to work on a project like that. I think it feels realistic, but it also feels interesting, and feels like something that we don't necessarily always get to see, in feature films, for me at least.
I like that it starts like a romantic love story. And you're watching a romantic love story that, could go very well. They're off in Paris and they have such great chemistry, and there's a sense of real connection. And I love that. And then, obviously what happens is it goes wrong, and she's just not so into him anymore, and he's not okay with that. And it turns into this sort of, it's an erotic thriller, really. But I love that what you're talking about in terms of different roles of what I think makes my character different, a little bit different, is that you might typically see a woman in those 90s genre films, the erotic thrillers, where they're violent, or they are unhinged, or they are manipulative. And in this case, she's just a professional woman who works really hard and is unapologetic about liking sex. And that's really all there is to it. And there's nothing, she's not unusual. She's just a person. And here comes this guy, and he becomes unhinged and manipulative and dangerous. And so the roles are switched in a really nice way, thematically, I think.
Yeah, I agree, because we are not usually to see women in these kind of roles that enjoying sex, having freedom, and we usually see guys doing this kind of, like, I can think about Shame recently, I don't know, 10 years ago, where we explore the mentality of this character. But when we have a female character doing this, we tend to point it out, we tend to judge it, and
Yeah.
and I don't think it's right. And I wonder, why do you think that we have this kind of stigma when we see these roles in female perspectives?
Well, I think it's interesting that she only has sex with 3 boys in the movie. There's just 3. And if that was a guy, you wouldn't even blink,
Exactly.
right? Just it's just 3 girls,
Just 3? That's
Just
it?
3. And one of, and I do think that their connection is so lovely, that this romantic feeling, that if he hadn't been, it happens all the time. You go on a few dates. At first it's exciting. The third date, you're like, oh no, right? Oops. Abort mission. So that's all she's doing. She's on it. She goes on a first date. It's super hot. The second date, really, really wonderful. Everything's going great. And then the third date, not so great. And so she's just, I just
I
think.
fell in love with you.
Yes. Yeah, but
Broke my heart.
you were the only falling in love. But your character, Elliot, it's more interesting also because the relationship that he has with his mom is
Yeah.
also creates something in his mind that he needed a representation of outside his mom because he's 33. He behaved like a kid when his mom approached to him. Like, this smell bad. Take off these clothes. Like a 7 years old kid. And then when he's outside, he wanna be like this mean bully kid when he doesn't get what he wanted. And I think it's super important for your character, that relationship.
Yeah, the mother relationship is wacky and interesting, to say the least. And we definitely leaned into the infantilization of Elliot with his mother and calling her, and how he refers to her and everything. And um yeah, it was I don't, it's weird. I mean, I know we're not supposed to give away spoilers, but yeah, that is an interesting relationship between those two.
Also, it just predisposed Alicia, your character, because she's training physically, and the violence is not just verbal; it's also physical. And I wonder, and it is something that you actually practice. You practice boxing because it looks great, but also the representation of the violence. How do you defend yourself? And also, it's an outstander of what we watch in films. This is not an action movie. So, but the character defend herself out of this guy who want to take advantage of her.
Well, because I don't want to spoil any of that, I'll
Yeah.
just say that yes, I had to. I mean, I didn't know about this project until I think 3 weeks before we started shooting, something like
Mhm.
that, was maybe less. So it was I was like, oh no, I need to exercise immediately. And so I did. I did a little bit of boxing because she's boxing in it, so I
Mhm.
want to be look somewhat real. I was afraid it didn't look good, so thanks. Um,
It looks great.
But yeah, I think that the point is because she's a successful woman and her career is everything to her and she's worked so hard to build it. I just think she takes this matter into her own hands and she's not going to let this fear or manipulation or danger stop her. So she just has to do what she has to do, to take care of herself.
But also, she faced some co-workers that tried to take advantage of her.
Yeah.
And I think it's part of her character when she see the opportunity to defend herself, not just in the work environment, also when things go wrong. And then we have this Elliot character that doesn't know what he's doing. And I think that combination of the female like perspective of being strong, courageous, on this guy who is 33, he don't know what he's doing, he don't know anything, and this contrast I think is beautiful. And I wonder how is you working with Justin when you got casted and you have this conversation with the director. How was that conversation about his vision, about what he wanted to create?
With Justin, we'd worked on King Cobra, and it was a really fun experience for me. So when I read this and I saw that this was um, you know, the script was emotionally complicated. Um, it had all kinds of depth. It was a scary genre in a way. There was risk involved for me. And then I knew Justin and I loved his work and working with him, and there's some provocative things in this film for me. And he's so fun and makes everything so comfortable. So anyway, I think it was all on the page what it was. And so he didn't speak to me about that so much. He just called me up and said, "You want to come do this thing?" And I read it and went, "Oh yeah, for sure." And and so that's what happened. But maybe Karl could speak to that a bit more.
Well, Justin had approached me about another project years prior, which didn't end up coming to fruition. But so he sent me this script. I read it, and I mean, I immediately was excited about the script because the story and the character and the dynamic between these characters was interesting to me, and we got on the phone and we talked about, just like visually what he was thinking, and some movies like 9.5 Weeks that, there was some inspiration there, but he wasn't going to be trying to, copy any of those films. And then I remember, actually, the thing that I remember from our early talks most of all was, because the budget for this movie was quite modest, and we got a waiver during the actors' strike to shoot. So we didn't have a lot of money, and there was a lot of talk about where the movie was going to be filmed and stuff. And I actually remember one conversation in particular where, I really argued for us to go out to Paris, and just with Justin, our cinematographer Matt, and myself, we flew out there just to shoot some exteriors. And we did it very cheaply, and it was just to try to make this thing that had a very modest budget feel real and authentic. And we hopped on a plane. We filmed on an airplane. We filmed at the airport. We filmed in the Paris streets, and it was just about trying to make it feel as authentic as possible with the limited amount of resources at our fingertips. But it was important for Justin too that we get those shots, and some of the most beautiful shots are like along the Seine in the movie, and we were lucky enough that they agreed to do it, and Justin and Matt and I just hopped on an airplane, and so that was actually one of the biggest conversations early on, I remember. But we got it to happen. I think it really helped the movie visually.
I did feel that I was watching kind of the beginning of Body Heat back in the early 80s with Kathleen. And thank you so much for your time, guys. And I really enjoyed the film. And I will recommend this to everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you
you very much.